Hello my wonderful, beautiful friends guys, welcome back to our /entitled people, where people truly believe it's all about them and no one else matters. And in today's episode, it's gonna be another wild one guys, so strap yourselves in. We've got Karens throwing tantrums in restaurants, entitled coworkers, greedy siblings, and one OP tells a story about the time a Karen ignored doctor's warnings and she makes the biggest mistake of her life. Guys, I hope you enjoyed today's stories. Hit subscribe if you're not subscribed. And as always, you can send or link your post to this email right here. Let's dive in. So I'm a 19-year-old female and I work as a server at a restaurant. The bar side of the restaurant is of course 21 plus, and anyone who orders an alcoholic beverage is required to show the waiter their ID. The rest of the restaurant, however, is child-friendly. The day this happened, we were serving breakfast, and I was serving a table of two. A young girl who looked to be about 8 years old and her entitled mother, Karen. However, this mom is a bit more than entitled. She's also psycho, as she'll be arrested by the end of the story. I go and take their drink orders after the hostess sits them down. The young girl gets an orange juice, while the mom gets a water and a mimosa. I, of course, check the mom's ID, and I see that she's born in the early 80s, so she's good for a mimosa. I let the bartender know that I need a mimosa to serve, and I work on the orange juice for the child and the mother's water. Once I have all three drinks, I serve their table and then take their meal orders. At this point, everything seems to be going smoothly until I bring back their meals. As I bring back the plates, the mother starts screaming at me saying, "You served my child alcohol, you idiot." Now, I know for a fact this can't be true because I'm the one who made the juice, and I never even went behind the bar where the drinks are. So I say to her, "Ma'am, you must be mistaken. I didn't put any alcohol in the juice, and I had my eyes on it until it reached your table." That's when the woman screams at me and says, "Well, then smell it." She then hands me her child's glass, and it did smell like alcohol. I tell her, once again, I know I didn't put alcohol in your kid's drink. Either someone did it while you weren't looking or you did it yourself. But the juice did not have alcohol before it came to your table. The mom just looks at me angrily and she demanded to see my manager while screaming, "I'm gonna sue you for giving my kid alcohol. I will sue this whole place. So bring me your manager." I of course get the manager, and she gets both mine and the mom's side of the story. Security was even alerted because apparently the child drank a few sips of the alcohol. We then went to the back, and my manager, security, and I watched the security footage since both me and the mom swore we didn't put alcohol in the juice. Now, not only did we discover that I was innocent, we saw the mom, as soon as I placed the glass down and left, drink half the child's juice and then fill it back up with her mimosa. She then instructed her kid to drink it. In the end, the mom was arrested for giving her child alcohol, and she was also given a lifetime ban from the restaurant. If she appears again, she will be immediately arrested again. That's not how I planned my work morning, but at least it was amusing to watch a Karen get what she deserved. You know what, I don't even know what Karen's endgame was here, guys. Like, was she looking for a free meal, or was she trying to cause drama to get a potential payday going? I have no idea. But no matter what the reason, I will, however, say that forcing your young child to ingest alcohol to cause a scene in hopes of getting something out of it is frickin' mental. I'm just glad there was video footage and she got arrested in the end. And seriously, you'd think that with cameras everywhere nowadays, people would be less willing to do something like that. But no, Karen's got a Karen, right? So I used to work as a server at Olive Garden when I was in college a few years back. There was this one guy named Jay who worked as a busser during the time, who latched onto me as a friend, mainly because I was nice to him and all the other servers ignored him. He was kind of a weird guy who had strong opinions on everything, but I would ask him how his day was going and I would listen to him when he talked to me, mostly because I was raised to be nice and inclusive. Little did I know how entitled he would be. There was one day I didn't have class, and my manager asked if I could cover for someone who had to leave due to an emergency. So since I was broke, I figured I could use the extra few dollars. I came in around 1 p.m. and as soon as I walked in the door, Jay comes up to me. And without even a "hey man" or "hello," he just says, "Hey, buy me lunch today, I'm hungry." Now, I was a little frustrated that he just said that without even greeting me, and asked him why he couldn't get it himself. He was saying how he gets paid every 2 weeks and he's short on money. But since I'm a server and I get tips, he knew I'd have cash on me for making change and stuff. That was rude, but whatever. We did get an employee discount on food, so it wouldn't be too expensive. So I asked him what he wanted, and he said chicken Alfredo. And I don't know if y'all know, but Olive Garden is expensive. So even with my discount, it was gonna be like $15. I tell him, fine, but don't expect me to do this all the time. And then he runs off to the kitchen all excited without even thanking me. And I just thought to myself, what a rude dude. Now, since it was lunch, we were running a soup and half pasta meal. So I figured I would ring that in as an employee meal so I could eat the soup at least. So I send in the meal and I start doing my normal shift work. But it was a slower afternoon, so I wasn't crazy busy. 10 minutes later, he walks up to me and he says to me, "Hey, they made a small portion. Can you go back there and tell them to make it a full size? Or send in another order so I can get 2? Hearing him say that, I told him, "No man, I got you lunch. I'm broke too, so you can take it or leave it," and then went back to my tables. He then came up to me later and he told me how when he saw that small plate of pasta, he was like, "Nah, I'll just leave it. It's not worth eating." So throughout my shift, as I went to pull the food from the window for my tables, I saw that chicken Alfredo sit for the whole shift. I still get mad thinking about it. What an entitled a-hole. And now we know why nobody wanted to talk to that guy, right? Like, what a frickin' choosy beggar mooch. I'm hungry, but it's also not worth eating because it's only a small portion. Like, does that bug you guys as much as it bugs me? And also, the fact that the guy just left it there and let the food get cold, my frickin' goodness. And this is why it's so hard to do nice things for people sometimes. And if you guys thought that was bad, OP pops into the comments to say, the guy actually asked for other favors, like later, he wanted to move in with me. Of course, I told him no way. I did leave Olive Garden at the end of the school year, so I haven't talked to him since. The guy was seriously delusional. So 2 years ago, I got pregnant for the first time. My husband Chris and I told our families, and my father-in-law was overjoyed at the idea of a grandchild. He and mother-in-law gave me and Chris a check for $1,000. He said that this was to pay for a nursery, and the rest should be used for whatever we needed for the baby. Shortly after this, when I was about 12 weeks, I had a miscarriage. We tried to give father-in-law his money back, but he asked if we were ever going to try again. We said someday, but not anytime soon. He then said to put the money in a savings account and add to it, so when we do have a baby, we have money for it. Chris and I thanked him for the generosity and agreed. And after that, we made the account, deposited the check, and tried to add money to it when we could. As it's been 2 years of regularly topping up the account, it currently has around $2,500 in it. We've missed a week here and there, but we've never taken money out of it. Chris and I have both been to therapy, and we agreed to try again. I'm currently 4 months pregnant. This time, we waited until we were out of the danger zone before inviting our families to our place, and we told them over lunch. Everyone seemed really happy for us, except for my brother Tom. So I pulled Tom to one side and I asked why the long face. He told me that he knew about the baby fund and he'd been intending to ask me for it. In the conversation after that, Tom said that Sean, my nephew, is going to university in a couple of years, and Tom doesn't feel that grants will be enough for Sean to live comfortably. That's when I said that Sean could get a job, and Tom said he doesn't want Sean working through first year in case it affects his grades. Tom also said that he and his wife, who are both mid-30s, had Sean at the time when they would have gone to university, so they couldn't go. And because of this, it's important to them that Sean goes. He figured, as me and Chris have decent jobs, this means we automatically have money to burn. I just replied that the baby fund was shockingly enough for my baby. That's when Tom says, well, I figured since you know, the last time what happened to the baby, and this one's not a done deal yet, that you could just give us the money because you never know. I just told him no. And that's when Tom told his wife how I was refusing to give him the baby fund. And now, both Tom and his wife are mad at me because Sean needs the money. And we're family, and I refuse to give it to him. And the thing is, my nephew Sean did not even know that Tom was asking me for the money, or even knew that the money existed. To this day, the only people to ever contribute to the baby fund are my father-in-law with his starter money and me and Chris with our regular contributions. We don't even consider that money to be ours anymore. And even when Chris and I were in dire straits and we really could have done with some of the money in the fund, we still didn't touch it because as far as we're concerned, that's our baby's money. It turns out that my mother-in-law told my mom about the existence of the baby fund years ago, as she makes quite a bit of money. So my mother-in-law thought my mom might want to contribute to the fund. Tom complained to our mother about not having enough money, so our mother told Tom about the baby fund, and she said, what's the harm in asking? And here's the thing, Tom and his wife have had 16 years to save up. Me and Chris have never taken a holiday, and they go on 2 per year, and then when they realize they had no savings left, they then decide to try to take the money that the entire family knows is for mine and Chris's baby, while telling me that there's still a chance that I'll miscarry since I've already miscarried once. Also, they have a daughter who's about 10 years old, so if I give my current baby fund to Sean and then start rebuilding, there's no way that 8 years from now they won't ask for my new fund for their daughter. Now, neither kid is entitled, and they could both really do with an out to get away from their parents. And if it weren't for them, we wouldn't be on speaking terms with Tom right now. This post honestly had my blood boiling, guys. Good old family, right? We're blood related, so give me all your money. And you lost your baby once, so it might happen again. You never know. Like the frickin' audacity. And I'm just sorry that OP's related to such an entitled brat of a brother. Like, who the heck says that to someone? And here's the thing, a lot of people who go to college also have jobs as well, while maintaining their grades. So there's no reason OP's nephew can't do the same. In fact, it might be better for Sean in the long run because doing that will teach him discipline and time management skills. And if that's not an option, OP's brother can go get a second job, right? Like, don't come harassing OP for baby money and then spewing that insensitive BS. Guys, let me know your thoughts on this post. So this happened in August 2017, and it does involve 2 lengthy lawsuits, one of which lasted 1.5 years and another for almost 2 years. Also, I'm not directly involved in it, as it happened to my sister-in-law. Back in 2017, my sister-in-law was in her final year for nursing school. She was required to intern for 6 months. She chose to join a private school for her internship, and it was one of those international private schools where kids of ultra-rich parents go. So that said, part 1, the incident. We were in India, and this took place on August 15th. This is India's Independence Day, and there was a celebration in the school. Everything was going normal in the beginning, but a student collapsed during the parade, so he was brought to the doctor's office. The doctor checked on him and found that he was running a moderate fever, and he was also slightly dehydrated. So the doctor gave him some medicine and asked my sister-in-law to give him a glass of glucose water. He then scolded the kid for participating in the parade while having a fever, and then wrote him a note excusing him from any further activity. He then asked the kid if his parents were present, and the kid said that his mother was there. So the doctor told him that he could go home if he wanted, or he could sit in the shade with his mom to watch the rest of the ceremony. The kid asked if he could just stay there and rest for a while, so the doctor said that he could use one of the beds to take a nap. Since there was nothing else to do in the office, the doctor excuses himself to go and have something to eat, leaving my sister-in-law and a janitor in the office. Hardly 5 minutes later, the mother marches into the office, and she went directly to check on her child. My sister-in-law tried to tell her that the kid was running a fever and taking a nap, but Karen ignored her. She shook her kid awake and she asked how he was feeling. The kid said, "Fine," and that's when Karen said, "Good. Now get up. You gotta get ready for your play. Everyone else is already dressed up." That's when my sister-in-law tried to explain that he's running a fever. He wants to rest. Karen just says, "Oh, it's fine. He's fine, aren't you, sweetie?" The kid just looks at my sister-in-law, and my sister-in-law tells her the doctors excused him from other activities. It would be better if you just take him home and let him rest. Karen just says, "It's just a play. I'm sure he can handle it. He's a tough man." Sister-in-law tries again, and she says it would be better for him to rest. He still has a fever. And with that, Karen loses her mind. She starts screaming in my sister-in-law's face, saying, "Oh, you think you know what's better for him? I'm his mother. I know what's best for him. My son is the top of his class. He's playing the most important part in the play. If he doesn't participate in this play, he will not get a certificate of excellence. So don't you dare tell me what's better for him." The kid, seeing his mother lose her mind, just stands up, and he says to my sister-in-law, "It's okay, I'm fine. Thank you for caring for me." At this point, my sister-in-law only managed to say, "Let me get a doctor," to which Karen says, "I come from a family of doctors. My father is the director of a well-known private hospital, and you people aren't even qualified to work in a hospital." She then grabs the arm of her kid and she marches away. My sister-in-law then calls the doctor, who said, "Well, it's her child. What else can we do? We did our part." About an hour later, the same kid was rushed in again, as he collapsed during the play. The doctor checks on him and then asked for him to be transferred to a hospital immediately, as the kid was unconscious and not responding. An ambulance was called and the kid was taken to the hospital. The day ended without any other incident. 2 days later, the school learned that the kid passed away in the hospital. About a week later, my sister-in-law was informed that the school was opening an investigation and that she'll be called for an interview. The doctor assured her that it's just a formality for the school to cover all the bases and she didn't need to worry about it. In her interview, she stated everything that happened. She was then asked why she felt it was her fault, as during her crying fit, she said to a teacher that she should have done more to stop the mom from taking the child. She explained that at the time she was overwhelmed by emotions, and she thought she could have done things differently. She was also asked if there was anyone who would corroborate her story, and she named the janitor who was present in the office at the time. She was then informed that she was placed under suspension until the investigation concludes. When she went back to collect her things from the office, the doctor once again assured her that there was nothing to worry about. He would make sure that no harm would come to her. A few days later, she receives a letter from the school that they concluded the investigation and they found her guilty of negligence, and thus her contract was terminated. She called the school supervisor, who then informed her that her story did not match the story told by the doctor and janitor, and there was nothing that could be done. Termination of contract meant that she couldn't complete her final on time, so she put in an application for an extension to the nursing school. She thought it was over, but boy were we in for a bomb that dropped on us. Part 2. The legal trouble. A few days later, 2 cops knocked on the door of my father-in-law, and they asked to speak to my sister-in-law. They informed them that the family of the child filed an FIR, a first incident report, against my sister-in-law. They accused her of causing the death of their child. They then asked if they can question her, but my father-in-law denied and told them that they can only question her in the presence of a lawyer. So the cop asked her to come to the police station the next day for questioning. We got a lawyer immediately, who first called the cops and asked for a later date to be set for the questioning. In the questioning, the lawyer talked for the most part, and he provided them with a written statement from my sister-in-law. The police asked their questions and then directed my sister-in-law to not leave the state without informing them first. A few more days go by, and she receives a summons from the court, as the state has decided to try her for the crime. The lawyer suggested to track down and speak to the janitor, as he was the only witness in the otherwise he said, she said case. And so we did. The janitor was reluctant to talk at first, but after my sister-in-law begs him, he told us that the doctor told him that if he told the truth, he'll be admitting to the same mistake that the nurse did, and he'll be fired for sure. And the only way to save himself was to tell the story that the doctor was telling him. The story that the doctor told to investigators was he had the kid under observation, with the strict instruction that the child would not be released under any circumstances, and that my sister-in-law released the kid without asking or informing him. We asked him to testify in the court, which at first he refused, but later agreed after a bit of persuasion. Once we had the janitor on our side, the lawyer also filed a case of wrongful termination, accusing the investigation to be partial and biased. Once the court hearing started, we also learned that Karen told white lies to the father of the child. She never told him that she forced the kid to perform in the play. Instead, she said the kid wanted to play his part. She also hid the fact that the nurse objected and showed her the doctor's note. Her story was that the kid wanted to participate in the play, and when she asked the nurse said everything was fine and he was allowed to play his part. The case went on for a year and a half. The janitor did provide his testimony, which the prosecution tried to discredit by saying that he told a different story during the investigation, so he wasn't a reliable witness. But the judge refused, taking note that the doctor tried to intimidate him and in turn asked the prosecution if they investigated the doctor's part in the incident, as to why he forced the janitor to lie in the first place, and why he wasn't present during his duty hours. When the prosecution replied in negative, the judge asked police to file a case against the school doctor. During her stand, my sister-in-law got very emotional, and she started crying as she recounted the events of that entire day. The only witness that prosecution had was the child's mother, who couldn't even keep her story straight. Long story short, the court rules in my sister-in-law's favor. After the court ruled in our favor, the school decided to settle the wrongful termination case. It was finalized last month, and we can finally put it all behind us. However, due to all the emotional stress and trauma, my sister-in-law decided to drop out of nursing school, thus ending her dreams of becoming a nurse. The police have also opened a fresh case against the doctor, who was let go from the school this year. He's being investigated by the state's medical association for wrongdoings, and if found guilty, he'll be barred from practice. We have no information on the entitled mom or the husband. I'm 36, and my sister Nancy, 29, got pregnant at 18 years old. I'm infertile, and I knew I couldn't have any kids, so when Nancy said that she was giving her baby up for adoption, I decided to be her mom. Nancy went no contact 5 months after giving birth. For a bit of background, Nancy got pregnant by a one-night stand, and she apparently didn't remember or know the father at the time of birth. But when my daughter Valerie was 2, a man who we'll call Tim, 35, messaged me on social media, claiming to be the father of my child. Nancy had run into him at the club, and she drunkenly confessed to the pregnancy. We met up, and he bonded with his daughter, and that man is now my husband of 7 years. Coming back to my sister, she called me yesterday. Although I was surprised at her call, I picked up. We made some small talk. And then she said that she had gotten married a year back, and both of them wanted kids but couldn't because her husband was infertile, but he really wanted kids. I asked her if she wanted to adopt, and she said they didn't want to adopt. She just called me to get her baby back. Hearing her say that, I was speechless for a few moments, before replying that if she wants to meet my child as an aunt, she's welcome to, and we can both sit Valerie down and explain the reason for her absence, but she just can't ask me to give up my child. That's when she said that she'll sue me because she's the birth mother. I told her she's out of her mind, and I told her about Tim, and that's when she exploded. She starts calling me names and saying that I stole her life. I got too emotional and I hung up. Tim comes home from work and I explained everything to him. He was beyond furious. I then got a call from my parents saying that I was an a-hole for telling Nancy she couldn't see her baby. I said I never said that. I welcomed her to bond with Valerie. But they refused to listen, and they said I was being insensitive and harsh and flaunting my family. I now feel bad because me and Nancy were very close as sisters, and I feel quite close to her situation since I know the struggles of infertility. Tim said there's no way he was letting my sister have full time, and I agree, but I want to know if I'm the a-hole for being too harsh and telling her about Tim. What a situation to be involved in, right? And honestly, in my opinion, OP's not the a-hole at all. Like, her sister needs to realize that a child's not just some toy you can give away when you don't want and then come back for later. And in this case, 11 years later. Like, that child has fully bonded to OP as OP's all she knows as a mother. And for her sister to try to come back and take her is wild. Yeah, let's just turn this child's life upside down on a whim because a woman who gave her up 11 years ago suddenly realized she can't have kids. And another thing, as long as the adoption was handled legally, OP's sister doesn't have a chance in hell with that lawsuit. If I were in OP's shoes, I would just stay no contact. Guys, let me know your thoughts in this situation. Some people are absolutely bonkers, I tell you. And that, my friends, brings us to another end of entitled people. Guys, I hope you enjoyed today's stories. If you did, hit that thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed, consider subscribing so you don't miss these crazy stories. And if you missed the last episode on the channel, it's an r/malicious compliance episode, where owners are getting taught lessons they won't forget. Guys, go check it out if you haven't. And myself and Stevie Boy will see you guys in the next one. We love you.